there is a lot of hoopla going on.
I don't know if you have seen the drama.
Raise your hand if you've heard about the lawsuit.
This is one big chess game for a lot of agents, and we're dealing with people's lives.
So what happened was, peace, furnace, let go, furnace. Nope, we literally cannot let it go.
She's losing a ton of money.
Most people saying, oh, if I have a will, I'm fine. No.
These are the kinds of things that agents need to be thinking about.
Oh, you don't know how many times I got cussed out. You don't know how many fires I put out. You don't know how many we were this close to canceling.
How many fights I started with my husband. How many?
Is it going to change your life if I help you with this transaction? If so, I will be your best representation and I will be there whenever you need me to.
Welcome to the Moxie and Jana Show.
I mean, we are spilling some real tea up in her, okay?
So we have aptly named our little show, Spilling Real Tea with Jana and Moxie.
Get it? Tune in and listen to us share all our crazy, wildly unbelievable crap that we see, do, and navigate in the insane world of real estate.
And we're talking everything.
Oh, the stories we will share.
Literally everything. Down to the fails only us real estate agents could make.
We got it all, y'all.
Straight out of KC, and we spilling it.
Hey, Moxie. How are you today?
Hey, girl. Good look. I got my hat on today.
I love it.
Okay, look at the hat.
Inside. No, I'm joking.
We fancy up in here, and it's fall colors. I want it to be all fall and wintry and depressed. Or no, not depressed.
Not depressed.
Not depressed.
We're not doing that. No depression podcast today. Although I will have to say, I have a really cool shirt on today. Stay golden, girls.
Yeah, stay golden, girl. Yeah, that's awesome.
I love my golden
that's
girls.
Awesome. Yeah.
I love those golden girls. Well, hey, so I don't know if you have seen all of the drama cruising around the Facebook groups lately about the NAR lawsuit.
Okay, first off, what's NAR?
Oh, goodness. All right. Yeah, let's break it down to the basics. The National Association of Realtors, of which we are required to belong to.
You're right. It is literally just the group that advocates on our behalf to make sure that we are doing everything correct on our clients' behalf, essentially. So they are the ones lobbying for different laws to make sure we're following the law so that our clients are covered under their law too.
You're right. They provide guidance to the individual associations for all of our forms that we use.
Yeah.
They take money from our association.
Every single year. Mm-hmm. Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Great. So we've got the NAR and now we've got this lawsuit, which raise your hand if you've heard about the lawsuit. Everybody should be raising their hands at this point. And whether or not you're scared about it, you're indifferent about it, you're proactive about it, you're well-informed, you're uninformed, you're a consumer, you're an agent, there is a lot of hoopla going on.
There is.
So Jana, my question is, what do we do?
Nothing. Nothing changes. Don't do a goddamn thing.
Fair enough.
No, I'm kidding. I'm joking. But I do think it's really important for consumers to understand this particular lawsuit has not changed anything about the industry yet. And there will be lots of appeals that are going to come down the pipe over the next couple of years. There's also more lawsuits being filed in Missouri and in other states as well. So this is going to be a long, drawn out thing. But from a consumer's perspective, really the big thing for them is to understand that commissions have always been negotiable. Agents and their brokers have always been capable of setting their own individual pricing and what their service provides as a result of that particular pricing.
And Jana, when you say setting, you just mean a decent, relatively large guideline of expectations, but we can all work without parameters and we're not forced into doing those specific requirements.
Yes. I think part of the reason why this lawsuit came about was because there was some of that happening. There was some minimum commission guidelines being set. There was some minimum fees that were being tagged on, that potentially maybe opened the door for a lot of this. But I think the really great part about all of this is it doesn't really change anything for me and probably not for you in terms of how you approach your business and how you talk to your clients and educate them on what it means to offer a buyer agent compensation versus not, right? I mean, I certainly already have that conversation, so I'm not really worried about it. Also, at the same token, with your buyers, explaining to them that, hey, If the seller offers compensation, that's what I'm going to utilize. However, per our buyer agency agreement, if it doesn't come to the level at which you and I have agreed to, you are going to have to cover the difference. I've always had that conversation, and I have charged my clients if the listing agent compensation being offered to the buyer agent didn't match what my buyer agency agreement said.
So let's talk about the new owner, the new FHA, or the newly divorced person that just has no money, and we now have to ask for potentially closing costs paid, a down payment assistance program, and we now also have to ask for the additional percentage to go towards the buyer's agent. There are some changes that the lenders are going to have to make in those parameters. They just are, because it's normal for us to ask a seller for closing costs if the buyer can't pay that. It's very normal for that to happen. And so really, to me, it's going to be not significantly different. To me, it's a conversation with our sellers to say, hey, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, you only want to pay my commission. That's fine. But I need you to understand there's going to be a really good chance that that is now a negotiating point on behalf of the buyer and the buyer agent. They may bring that and say, hey, we'll give you full price, but we need closing costs paid. And we also need the buyer's agent to have compensation as well. So to me, what you just said is true. There's really not going to be a whole lot of a different conversation as long as we collectively as a group, which seems to be a problem with real estate agents, are setting these expectations with our sellers up front. And then we always have those great conversations with our buyers, to make sure they understand it.
Yeah. And I mean, I've had sellers in the past that are like, I don't want to pay a buyer's agent. And previously you couldn't put less than 1 penny into the MLS, our local MLS anyway, you couldn't. And I had those conversations with our director here back in 2021, which is when I encountered a seller that didn't want to pay a buyer's agent. And we couldn't do that. I'm like, okay. So it's good that we have that capability today. I do think that we have the ability to put 0 in for buyer agent compensation. But I think that a lot of agents are doing a lot of speculation on what this means for the industry overall. And I think it's too soon to do that. I don't think we know what's going to happen. I think there are a lot of brokerages that are making changes and adding documentation and whatnot to try to surface some of the things, which is honestly, in our case, a repeat of our contracts, which is fine. In other areas, they've never spelt it out like that. So it's good for them too. So, I mean, there are some minor changes taking place, but I don't think that it's going to have that big of an impact in the short term. Having said that, I do think, and I'm excited about the fact that a buyer is going to be able to pay their own agent, that would be the expectation, because I have always found it super weird to be incentivized by the listing that I'm showing to sell that house over this other house. There is a financial incentive involved in that. And it always felt kind of icky to me that I would even pay attention to that. Also, our commission cannot become part of a contract today. Like, we're not a party to the contract, so our commissions cannot come into the negotiations today. As you said, I do think that will change. But I think the thing that I'm super excited about that's happening now, and as a result of this, is it's really, 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 really forcing agents like us to take a look at their client experience and really put forth a pretty significant effort in making sure that the client experience is amazing, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what's going to set us apart in the future.
Yeah, and I think that's why maybe a lot of agents on these little forums that we're hearing are causing a tizzy in there, because I think they were used to just, where's the next one? Where's the next one? Where's the next one? Just through a hamster wheel, and they didn't have a good client experience. And I feel like I've been pretty praised by a lot of my buyers and sellers with a positive buyer and seller experience. Of course, there's lending issues and
things out of our control.
Right. But for the most part, I feel like I have a pretty good experience. I hope I do. If I don't, someone tell me, because no one ever freaking tells me.
Well, I mean, based on our reviews, we have a great client experience between the two of us. So, I mean, it's only going to get better, I think. Yeah. And so in that vein, right, I mean, when we're talking about changing our client experience or elevating our client experience, I think you and I have both done some pretty dramatic things over the last few years, for sure, to like bolster our client experience. So, and I know you've got one story in particular that I need to hear it. I need to hear it again. So do tell.
I'm so excited to hear the story. Okay, so Above and Beyond is like, I feel like just something that we all should try to live by. See if we can go above and beyond. Okay, so very early on in my career, I had this elderly woman, and oh, the poor woman. Oh my goodness. The first time I walked into her house, she was sitting on the couch. She was hunched over. She was all sorts of sad. She was using her little walker to get around, and girls, she was just miserable, right? So I listed her home. Kelsey Toole will be able to tell you about this story because her husband was part of it. It was epic.
Shout out to Kelsey.
Shout out to Kelsey, Chicago Title. I knew that she had said to me, I posted this house and she said, oh, I live up close to that house. And I was like, oh, cool, great. Why do I ever need that information? Holy moly, I needed that information. Okay, so the basement had to be painted. And I don't mean like it was a nice finished basement where I'm taping and mudding. I mean, it was a unfinished, completely concrete, just go in there and slap some paint up, right? But old lady couldn't do that. She had already moved over to her old lady home and her old people home, whatever it's called. And so I'm over here and I'm like, this entire deal is going to fall apart if I don't go and paint this thing. So I got with my dad and I was like, Dad, I need a paintbrush and a can of paint. And so we got white paint and a paintbrush, and girl, I just went to town. I didn't bring a roller, dumb me. I just brought a stupid little brush, did the whole thing. Golly, it took so long. But in the process, okay, so that was the customer service side of things. Sure. This is now just the Moxie has a terrible experience sometimes side of things. I am now looking around the basement, and I look up at the ductwork coming out of the furnace, and I'm like, oh, that looks a little wonky. Just a tiny bit wonky. I'm going to make sure to reconnect those a little bit better.
You became an HVAC professional in your spare time.
So I went to reconnect them just a little. They were connected, but they were kind of not. And so just a little. Cool girl. So what happened was my cell phone was over on the hot water.
I could just see you. A little short Moxie standing there like trying to connect these two pieces.
It gets worse. So my phone is on the hot water heater. Okay. I am now trying to connect these pieces, and this piece falls away. It's still connected to the ceiling, but it falls away. And I'm now holding the main piece that is also holding up the furnace.
Oh God.
So every time I go to let it go, the furnace is moving with it. And I'm like, this isn't so piece, furnace, let go, furnace. Nope, we can't, we literally cannot let it go. So I'm stuck like this, holding this thing, trying to reach for the other piece. Come here, little piece. Nope, not reaching it. Try to reach for my phone, girl. It is millimeters away. Millimeters from my fingertips, okay? I finally get the cell phone. I work my way over. I finally get the cell phone. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm in North Kansas City. I don't know anybody up here. I'm so new in the business. I didn't have any connections at this point, okay? Kelsey Toole lives close by. Holy guacamole. I called Kelsey. Kelsey, it's Moxie. What's your husband doing? She's like, he's at home.
She's like, why do you want to know what my husband is doing?
Oh, yeah. There was such a question because I didn't know her at this time either, okay? And I said, okay, cool. You remember that house that I posted that was really close to you guys? Well, I'm in a severe predicament right now. And I'm in the basement holding up a furnace by its ductwork. And I don't know who else to call.
I'm standing here holding up a $9,000, $10,000 piece of machinery.
For real, for real.
Help.
Had no I was just trying to help. So I told her, I said, just so you know, when he gets here, the front door is unlocked. He's not going to hear me. I'm in the basement. I can't scream and say, come in. Well, I hear knock, knock, knock. And I'm like, yeah, I still can't. I don't even say anything at this point. Random person. I've never met him in my life. He comes walking down the stairs. All I see are his little feet walking down the stairs. And I was like, hi, this is only weird if it's weird. Well, luckily he had, the high heat tape. And listen, Kelsey Toole saved my life that day. Not really my life, but definitely the furnace. And I'd be forever grateful for that scenario. But I say all that because what a weird client experience. I'm here painting this entire basement for this woman because she's too old. She can't do it. But the house has to get sold. So I just went above and beyond. Now I then got myself in a tiny predicament. That's not the point. So, whatever. Oh, and let me tell you what else. This was really cool.
Oh, no.
Okay. So whenever I walked in, she was all like crinkled over and sad. And I went to see her at the old folks home, and girl, it was like she was a teenage girl. She was up. She was happy. She was like, I should have done this years ago.
She was getting her freak on.
Oh gosh. I don't know about that. What I do know is she now had friends. She had somebody else to cook and clean. She didn't have to physically worry about all that. Her whole life had changed. And so to me, that was a really cool testament to like, sometimes people need to just make the decision to move just a little bit sooner than maybe what they were expecting.
That's a really good point.
So anyways, that's client. And everything had to be signed in person by her. So I had to take everything up to her, and she was by Zona Rosa, and I lived here in Holden. So it was like an hour and 10 minutes every time. I didn't care. It was so cool, but it was quite the client experience for sure.
Oh, that's so sweet. I love it. Those are my favorite. I honestly thoroughly enjoy working with clients that you're like, you can help. It's not hard to find a way to help. You know what I mean? To make their life a little bit easier. Those are my favorite.
Yeah. And if we're out here just thinking to ourselves, like, what if that was my grandpa? Or what if that was my mom? Mm-hmm. I am looking at these interactions with these clients, and also who have turned into friends, as how can I best serve you so that your experience is good? We get through this without a bunch of heartbreak. And obviously there's always things that come up, but I feel like I have a pretty good system set up now that you're getting in and out pretty easily to buy a house. It's not as treacherous as I feel like as it used to be for some people, but maybe I'm insane.
No, I definitely agree. So, I mean, what would have happened if she'd have stayed there and like passed? I know you've worked with a lot of folks who are downsizing, and so I've worked with a few, but not nearly as many. So I think it would be really cool to kind of hear from you. Like, how could you set yourself up to make sure that your home is going to go where you want it to go, not to probate, not to, and all these other things? Like, how would you set that up? What would you recommend to a client?
Hands down, without a doubt, a beneficiary deed. Now, I am not an estate attorney. I am not an attorney at all. I am just a goofball that barely made it through 2 years of associate's degree in college.
But hey, we do have referrals to really great estate attorneys.
We do. We absolutely do. But what I can tell you is, being on the seller side of those contracts and those transfers, the beneficiary deed seems to be the easiest. It just goes from Sam to Adam, and there was no issue because the beneficiary deed's already in place. It's done before Sam passes away. Sam and Adam get together. They go sign a document. They have it at the county. As soon as Sam dies, Adam's like, okay, I now own this house.
Just like step in.
It's literally as easy as that.
So it's like a TOD on a car, basically.
It's like TOD on a car. Yeah. Yes. Okay. But here's the thing. Most people think, oh, if I have a will, I'm fine. No. I am dealing with one right now that just now got, I think she's a year out. She just now got able to sell the home. And the probate courts gave us a specific price that we absolutely could not go under, which is good because some people could get in there and try to screw them over. But now we're waiting on the courts for approval. Now we're trying to see, does this work? Are you guys okay? It is, and it's been almost a year. So wills, don't do anything. Trusts, I think they're probably okay. I know my parents have dealt with a trust with my grandparents, and they have both told me, I will not leave a trust for you. Maybe that's because my grandparents did it incorrectly. I don't know. They don't really know.
Maybe they're just mad at you, Moxie. You're not getting a trust.
Well, that's okay. I know, as far as like homes go, I can tell you emphatically, working with it as the way the laws are now, a beneficiary deed, hands down the simplest process for everybody involved. And I wish more people knew about that.
Well, and I wonder, does it change anything? So like if Sam decided to, I can't remember who was who, but if Sam in this scenario decided to sell the house and not pass away, like that's a choice. A beneficiary deed doesn't change their ability to sell.
No. I think that they would have to have Adam in this case sign off saying, he's okay with that. I think, I'm not 1,000% sure on that. That's a good question. But I know when Adam goes to sell it after Sam has passed away, it's
a general warranty.
It's the easiest process.
Yeah, at that point. Yeah.
It's pretty cool stuff. Now, I've dealt with it a lot because my family does estate sales, which is basically if you pass away, you get a divorce, you have to downsize, foreclosure, I don't know, moving to another state. We've had people be like, we're moving to a bigger house and we just don't want to take anything with us. I'm like, okay, got you, pumpkin. So there's all sorts of scenarios. But the one thing that I've learned whenever I come across a scenario that I think could be applicable to an estate sale, people always say the same thing. They always say, well, I'm going to start throwing stuff away or clean this place up, and then I'll have the estate sale company come in. And I'm like, no, I don't want you to do that. They don't want you. Let them deal with all of it. Let them deal with your trash, girl. We've seen some stuff. Woo.
Yeah. So, I mean, tell me about that. Like, the house could be a hoarder situation. It could be complete garbage, but there might be some valuable items in there. And so bringing you guys in, or your parents' company or whoever, your family's company.
Yeah. And I used to do estate sales with them for 8 years. So I was in the thick of it for a long time. So literally, literally, trust me. Woo! Sam, Sam is just going to be our person that dies. He is just,
I feel bad for Sam, not okay. For all the Sams out there, but here we are.
But Adam gets all his benefits. Okay, so Sam passes away, and Adam's like, what the heck do I do with all this stuff? I don't want to touch it. I don't want to clean it. I don't want to trash it. I don't want to look at it. I don't want anything to do with this because I haven't talked to Sam in 10 years. Whatever the situation is, you call in an estate sale company. Absolute Estate Sales is my family.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug. And you ask them, hey, is this enough to do a sale? Or is this enough for you to buy out? Or whatever the circumstance is. And then they get it. They get the crew in there and they touch everything for you. What I tell people is give them the keys. And after X amount of time, they will give you a check and a completely cleaned out house. I mean, for some people, that is invaluable circumstances. Imagine if you're in even a divorce that's not amicable and both parties are like, I don't want anything because I know what you did on that bed. You could literally just, I'm just saying, I don't know. You could go in and take your clothes.
Sam, you dirty, dirty man.
Yeah. You could literally go in and just take your clothes out of the closet. They'll sell your food. They'll sell your cleaning supplies. Girl, I bought Windex and cleaning supplies and laundry detergent for 8 years. I never went to the store for that stuff because I bought it from a estate sale.
Okay, so I just have to tell you, so my daughter Morgan has gotten into like thrifting vintage stuff and has finally discovered estate sales, right? And is like actively going to them on her own. And she came across an estate sale this last week, and she went on Saturday, and then we all went on Sunday. And this lovely elderly lady is doing it herself. She's doing it herself. One Facebook Marketplace post is how, but I mean, she was busy, but at the same time, like we were there, I think it was like 1:00 and she was closing it down at 5. She has to have her house completely cleaned out in the next 2 days. And there was a ton of stuff. They were asking us like, who could we donate this stuff to? And I had that thought. I'd be like, what if I just gave you $100 and I pull up with a truck?
Yeah.
I'll just take care of it. And then you can move on. And I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but maybe Morgan can thrift some stuff. I don't know, but she's losing a ton of money just donating it.
If she had a company who was already established, had marketing, had great websites, great email lists, great Facebook presence, maybe she wouldn't have had as much. There's always stuff left over. Don't get me wrong. But the company ends up taking care of that at the end. And this little lady who I painted her basement, that's actually how I got her. Was my family, they were doing her estate sale and they were like, do you have an agent? And so it kind of worked out well that I was able to service her.
And I think too, kind of in that same, like, painting something for a client or, I think we've all had those, I got to pitch in and do something here to make this happen. Right. And actually the Royal Fox Network, which is my team, we created these programs to help sellers and buyers, but primarily we're talking about sellers in this case. We created our Flip to Sell programs, very similar to what you were just talking about, not on the estate sale side, but definitely if there are like repairs that need to be made or upgrades that would help bring them more money, on the market at the time of sale. Bring in better quality offers, less questions being asked. Everybody sees really good product. So we put together this Flip to Sell program, which basically we handle taking care of all of the contractor work, the painting, the putting in the granite countertops. We put in new windows, we put in new floors. We haven't had to replace a roof yet. but we would if we had to. But we'd provide up to $35,000 worth of funding to complete renovations on a home or upgrades or repairs. So we've had lots of sellers that have come to us like, the dishwasher doesn't work. There's a leak in the floor that's, still dripping into the basement. The hot water heater hasn't worked in I don't know how long. We run down the street and take showers. I've literally had those kinds of, I'm like, okay. We walk through and put together, here's all the things that we need to do. We put together a budget for it. They approve the budget. Obviously we're not doing this for free, but they pay us back at closing. So in that same thing of like, we always give up our time and energy to help our clients move them, wherever they need to get going to. This is one of those things.
Whatever it takes.
Yeah. And I love that. And I think tying that back to the NAR stuff, and kind of elevating our client experience, I think these are the kinds of things that agents need to be thinking about. Not how am I going to tell my client they're going to have to pay me now, but how do I show them the value in hiring me and paying me? And those are some of the things that you can do to do that. Have great network.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that I keep talking about to my agents on my team is do what no other agent will do now so that you can be the best agent later. Mm-hmm. Like, I know that's kind of like the Dave Ramsey talks about, the way he says that is kind of the same, but you can apply that to this circumstance. You guys are going above and beyond to be able to supply this to not a lot of agents would be like, I'll front $35,000 for you. You guys are doing that no other agent is doing. And I'm not saying no other agent. I know there are people that do that, but it's just thinking outside the box. How can I create even more value for my client? Yeah. What if you guys add 35,000, adds another 45,000? So that's 10,000 extra in their pocket. Right. That's where it starts to make sense, and where this NAR stuff can scare people. But if you're creative, you're consistent, you're compassionate, you're caring, you can show your value the way that you need to. And these are ways that we do it. I mean, yeah, I painted a basement, but on the turn of it, I was the reason that house was able to get sold. Yep. Yeah, you go and put a budget together, but on the turn, you're changing these people's lives for the better. Yes. So I'm a big fan of just be what no other agent will be. When people ask me, Moxie, where do you sell houses? All I ever say is yes. And that's because I have 4 hours. Yeah. I don't care. Yeah. Is it going to change your life if I help you with this transaction? Mm-hmm. If so, I will be your best representation, and I will be there whenever you need me to, because I'm willing to do what no other agent is willing to do in some circumstances. Sure. So that's I think it's phenomenal. I think we're great. I love us.
I love us. I love us too. I do think though, like it just, all the people that are freaking out and complaining, the one thing I say to them and to my agents as well is like, you've got to think outside the box. You've got to think, what problem does this create for the client? And what are options to solve it? Where can you spearhead that conversation? Can you work with a third party and come up with some kind of down payment, I'm going to say down payment assistance, but, commission assistance program? Like, those things are going to happen.
Because those are going to happen.
Why can't it be you that comes up with that? So
yeah, I'm a big fan of giving solutions. Yeah. I don't like to call with just simply bad news. What's the saying? Give good news in person and bad news quickly with a solution. Yeah. 100%. So one thing that I do notice about some agents, they'll call and they'll be like, hey, Moxie, this has happened. And I'm over here stale like, oh, that's it. Oh, okay. You just had bad news. You didn't have bad news with the solution, because I'm bringing the solution with the bad news. And sometimes I hold that bad news back for an hour, 2 hours, what it takes to actually get a solution. But I have found that if I only come with bad news, what does that help? Who are you helping, girl? Girl, you're not even helping you.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm a big fan of, and I think that's what sets good agents and not so good agents apart. Yes. And, like you and I had talked about before we started this, because I just have to say this, so many agents, you hear this so often. What's the difference? What makes a good agent and bad agent? And everyone says the same thing. A good agent answers their phone. No. Does a good agent answer their phone? Absolutely. Or they get back to you very quickly. They get back to you, yes. But if that's your baseline, ooh, girl, we got problems. If your baseline is a good agent answers their phone and a bad agent doesn't, we have some weird expectations in this industry, because to me, a good agent comes with solutions. A good agent doesn't lie and manipulate. There's a lot more we could talk about with good agents, but there's definitely an issue in our industry with that.
And I definitely think in that same vein, when we talk about what makes a good agent or a great agent, what makes a not so great agent, I think a lot of people tend to think about the tactical aspect of it. Like, do they show up on time to an appointment? Do they answer their phone? Do they do, these very administrative functions? And I don't think a lot of people really understand all of the things that we do throughout a transaction, just like taking that bad news, calling your contractor, figuring out how much it's going to cost. Can you get it cheaper? So that when you deliver that piece of not so great news to your client, you're saying, hey, this is the situation. I know this sucks, but I've got a couple of options I want to present to you that ways you can solve this if you want to solve it. And maybe the answer is we're not going to solve it. Suck it up, buttercup. And I would have done all of that research and work ahead of time for no reason. But at the same time, I want to know that what I'm giving you is actually going to resolve the issue that we're having. And I think that is, if there is one thing, it's to be solutions oriented. This is one big chess game for a lot of agents, and we're dealing with people's lives. Truly.
Yeah, for sure. The president of our company put this post out, and it may have been 3 a.m. when I read it because I struggled to sleep, and it had only been posted for a little while. So it was late for him too. And he's like, people always ask me, why does it come so easily for you? Why does it always look so easy? Mm-hmm. You have it so easy. Everything you do is just so simple. And then he wrote his dang schedule out. That dude wakes up at 4:45. Okay.
And hops on the phone at 5.
At 5. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm not going to go through his whole schedule right now, but his last appointment is at 8:15, I think it was, maybe 8:25. I can't remember. So just think of that, put that into a little bit of perspective. But what that made me remember is I sometimes have people jokingly say, gosh, what did you do during this contract? Jana, to me, that's the biggest compliment. Because it's like, oh, you don't know how many times I got cussed out. You don't know how many fires I put out. You don't know how many times we were this close to canceling.
How many fights I started with my husband? How many?
No, for real. I know that some agents get offended, and I used to get so offended when people would be like, gosh, that was the easiest transaction. What am I even paying you for? You're paying me for that right there. You're paying me for the fact that the buyer almost canceled 16 times, and I talked him down off the ledge every single time. And to me, I was looking at that post from our president, and I really started to think, I've had people consistently throughout my career be like, oh gosh, you just sell all these houses. You're just so good at it. Oh, and then you go on vacations. I ain't on a vacation. Just because I'm gone from my house does not mean I'm on a vacation. You can ask my husband. I will spend hours in the resort room just answering phone calls, talking to people, writing a contract, all but physically showing the home. So when people, to me, it was just very much like, it kind of made me feel better that I'm not the only one that people say that about. And then people say all the time, I want to become a real estate agent. You make it look so easy. I guess I'm doing something right then, because the pain of these transactions is severe sometimes, but that's our whole job. We are here to make sure that no one else feels that pain except for maybe our lender and maybe the other
and our TC. No, but it's true. A lot of people see the job that we do as something that anyone could do. And certainly the bar to get a license is pretty low in our area. And there are definitely a few agents I've come across that probably just should have kept on walking and not gotten their license because they're that terrible. But I think when you look at like what makes a great agent, it really comes down to solving problems that no one knew they had until they had them. And then they didn't know all of the things that went into resolving that issue. And not that I'm like, I want my badge of honor for all the shit that I had to put up with on this It's not like that at all. But it's funny because when I talk to, my husband, who's a newer agent, I'm like, it's for us, we do this every day. So we understand the ins and outs and the little things that we can tweak and the little, coded words that we use to tell the other agent to back the F off or whatever, while being perfectly professional and respectful, of course. Like, you need to take a breather. You know what I mean? Like, calm down. Screaming at me on the phone's not going to help your case. Okay.
Doesn't help.
But I do think that there are some steps that consumers can do to interview their agents, to ask really good questions that kind of get to the heart of how their brain works. Because that truly, to me, after being a solutions-oriented person, it comes down to, can you objectively think through a problem and still advocate for your client. So a prime example might be someone who has had their home flooded in the past, that it was a terrible experience. They got completely washed out. Their house was a total loss, blah, blah, blah. We go look at a property. They want to put in an offer on the property. And, we get through inspections and turns out that there's a pretty big leak happening under the sink. And for them, that's a big deal because of their past experience, right? So when you're thinking about asking an agent a question, ask them questions like, talk to me about how you handle issues when they come up during the transaction. When the other agent is just being a gigantic pain in your ass, what do you do to right that ship? What do you say? What is your thought process around how you would handle or approach that agent to get them to calm down, to open up to you? Ask those kinds of questions because, I can tell you the recent transaction with a referral agent. It was like every time we asked a question, it was, oh, well, you can find that on that website. Oh, you can go look that up on the city zoning website. Oh, you can go find that by going to the city hall and asking the receptionist for this particular person. Like, do your job.
Yeah.
I'd be like, here's the document. What else do you need? Do you want me to walk you through it? Like, here are the high points that I noticed in the document. I don't know if that's important to you, right? You're going to put in that extra effort, but when you're dealing with people who have had traumatic experiences in the past, buying or selling, you've got a lot to overcome. And the really important thing is to ask good questions. Don't ask the basic, do you answer your phone? Are you available at 8 p.m.? Is your lender available at 9 p.m. on a Saturday? Yes. The answer is yes.
These should all be yes answers to every agent across the board.
Absolutely.
That should just be yes answers.
Yeah. And who's going to say no? I'm being interviewed for you to be my client, and you're asking me, do I answer my phone? Am I going to say no? Probably not. I know I try to answer my phone, but of course I'm going to say yes.
Yeah.
Do you take calls on the weekends? Yes. I'm not going to. Why would you say no to that? So when you're asking these questions, you're not asking good questions. So.
Yeah. Very interesting. Well, I definitely think you and I a pretty fantastic way to show quality customer service, show lots of value. Yeah. I'm not terribly concerned. I am concerned, but only because I'm a logical person and this is our profession. Mm-hmm. So this, there are some concerns that come along with this lawsuit, but we just have to be prepared. We have to disclose and we have to have really good conversations. So that's all there is to it.
And not be afraid to have those hard conversations because they're going to happen. And you need to figure out how to communicate your value in both verbally and in actual experience. And once you do that and you see the fruits of your labor and you see happy clients and you have great transactions, you're never going to go back.
Yep.
So.
True story. Okay, well, this has been wonderful. I don't ever want to paint another basement again and hold a furnace in my hands. True story. But will I? Yes.
Yeah. If you got it, you got to do what you got to do.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us today.
We know you're probably potty watching or avoiding doing something domestic today, and we're glad you found us instead.
If you've got a crazy real estate story to share,
burning questions you want the real tea spilt on,
or maybe you want to sponsor our little production, we want to hear from you. Shoot us an email so that we can collaborate. And until next time, guys,
we'll be a hot mess. And you keep doing you, boo-boo.
Make it a great day.